Very happy to be joined by a Wichita State basketball legend, future Shocker Hall of Famer, maybe even the number 31 up there in the rafters at Coke Arena someday. Ron Baker. Ron, how's it going?
Pretty good, Jeff. Always good to hear from you, and I appreciate the kind words to start there.
What are you up to these days? Because I think that's the question a lot of people have about their past favorites, especially ones that you played in the NBA. So it's not like, hey, you're not in basketball anymore. This is a guy who played in the NBA, but you are not currently involved in professional basketball. So what are you doing?
That's a great question. I'll keep it pretty light. First and foremost, I'm the dad of two beautiful daughters. My wife
Congratulations.
and I, Olivia, we're living here in Andover, Kansas. Currently, we both work from home. She works for a company out of Minneapolis, Medics Healthcare, and then I recently changed careers. Previously, the last 4 years, I was working with Via Christi here in town. Great company, great leadership. And I came up on another opportunity a couple weeks ago, Hayden Outdoors Real Estate. So I'll be selling properties for them across the state. Believe it or not, they're actually a company that was founded in Western Kansas out in Goodland. But currently they have properties listed in 32 states throughout the country. So very excited to be pursuing that career currently.
You went from walk on to an NBA player, and I don't know if that's necessarily a traditional path to the NBA. But when did you start thinking about life after basketball, and what areas were you interested in?
I would probably answer that by saying my freshman year at WSU. Basketball was something I wanted to pursue, but being a walk on and playing around guys like Joe Ragland, Trey Murray, David Kyle's really good 4 year players at Wichita State. I first and foremost thought this is going to be a 4 year career, hopefully a fun career at WSU, and I was going to pursue something in business. I envisioned myself being, that 4 year walk on that ends up working at Coke or Cargill, something business minded, and I figured Wichita was a great place for that. So that's kind of when the vision of business started was my freshman year.
That's interesting that you thought you'd be a 4-year walk on because obviously it turned out
Yeah,
much different. Was that
yeah.
because you didn't think walk ons get many opportunities to play and show themselves, or did you just think that that's the level that you were at?
I, I would be honest and say that's just kind of where I thought I was at. Coming into Wichita State, we had, I think, 5 or 6 guards that were going to be seniors. And the first month that summer was pretty overwhelming. Walk on didn't sound too bad playing next to guys like that. But as I stuck with it throughout that redshirt year, my confidence just continued to grow. And my pursuit of being a professional also started to grow. Fortunate enough, we were coached well and had those 5, 6 seniors that were fun to play around with that first year and learned a ton.
Yeah, was that put in your ear that hey, you if you keep on this path, you could be a pro someday, or did you just recognize that in yourself? Hey, I'm getting better. I've got the size. I've kind of got the body for it. Did you just kind of inherently put yourself on that path?
It's definitely from the coaching staff and your teammates feeding you confidence throughout those 5 years I was in college. But to get to that level, I'd say first and foremost, you have to believe in yourself. And I kind of started grasping that after a good freshman season. And through the years, I think my coaches and teammates just fed that confidence in me. And then I started to believe in my abilities to get to that level.
Let's talk about the hair real quick. You're a senior at Scott City. You've got I don't want to say perm. Would you describe it as a perm?
It is definitely a perm, and I do want to bring that up. The junior summer going to be senior. That's the summer of senior pictures. Well, if you walk into my grandpa's house in Utica, Kansas, you'll see on the wall two of his sons, one being my dad, of course, and another being my uncle. And they also had perms going into their senior year for senior
Naturally.
pictures. So me being the next Baker boy, I figured I would continue that tradition. Now, Sloan, my younger brother, he did not.
Why?
So you can blame him for killing the streak there.
That doesn't sound like I'm walking into a house. That sounds like I'm walking into a museum. Like, oh, these are the Ron Baker perm pictures here.
You
You
could
should charge
imagine
admission
what
for that.
you
That's
could
Graceland.
imagine you could imagine what some Baker boys back in the 80s in a small town in Western Kansas were doing, and getting perms was one of them.
So that was a choice made for family reasons and sentimentality, and it goes away for the same reason. I'm done with family choices and sentimentality.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but after a freshman year, I figured, I don't really need to be driving back to Scott City and getting a perm every 4 months. We probably need to move on and just let it flow naturally.
Fair enough. And you talked about you kind of considering yourself at one level. What about the program itself when you come in as a walk-on? Did you see it stuck in or Missouri Valley Conference program? We might get to an NCAA tournament here or there if we're lucky. Was that kind of your view then?
So my senior year, when Coach Marshall and Coach Jans were heavily recruiting me, I was actually in baseball season. This was late March, early April, and if people recall, that is actually the year Wichita State went on their NIT run. So I caught a few games when they were in New York. Prior to that, Western Kansas, we don't follow much of Wichita State. We knew their baseball program was historically good. But from a sports standpoint, it's mainly K-State. You watch some KU sports, a little bit of Nebraska, and then it's Chiefs and Broncos. So I didn't follow Wichita State a whole lot. I wasn't very familiar with the conference, Missouri Valley Conference. You'd catch a couple games on, I think, Fox Sports Network back in the day during the Arch Madness. But coming in that year, I was pretty wet behind the ears, man. I didn't know a whole lot about the program. I was really just trusting Coach Jans and Coach Marshall, who brought myself and my parents on a visit, and they really sold us the program and what they were about. And I was kind of just going on a leap of faith. But through that summer and through that first redshirt year, I learned a ton about the identity of Wichita State basketball, and then also the conference itself.
And we know that you'll forever be linked with Fred VanVleet, who ended up being a freshman at the same time you were a redshirt freshman. So you had the same career basically 4 years. When did that become a thing to you, where it's not Ron, it's not Fred, it's Ron and Fred, or it's Fred and Ron, and you were kind of the faces together of the program?
As I look back on that, I would probably say the year we went undefeated. So that'd be both of our second full seasons together. Those who recall the Final Four run, our two main point guards that year were Demetric Williams and Malcolm Armstead. So Fred and I didn't get a chance to play a ton of minutes together that first season. But that summer going into the undefeated year and throughout that undefeated season, him and I started gelling, I think, a lot more, got a lot more minutes together. So that was kind of the first year where we were a two-headed snake, if you will.
Were you both undrafted?
It's correct. Yep.
Yeah, and Craig Porter, another guy that was undrafted. Sham Landry was drafted and is still in the league. What about and Toure made it to the league? All you guys
Mhm.
at sort of a similar era made it against a lot of odds. What was it about Wichita State at the time to where it fostered that level of belief in yourself, work ethic, whatever it was that got you guys all there?
Yeah, you got to speak to just the identity of the program led by Coach Marshall and his staff. All of his staff that he had brought along in our 5 years, like they just bought into the identity. And when you're out of college that long, that stuff travels with you when you leave, regardless if it's with the Knicks, the Wizards, or playing in Russia. Um, that just motto carried with us all to wherever we went. And that's why you see, the Craig Porters, myself, Fred, and then the guys that were drafted, they usually stick around and kind of make a name for themselves. And that's with that identity that we got in those 4 or 5 years together.
Yeah, and I want to talk a lot, maybe not a lot, but a few questions about just life in New York, because you went to the Knicks, of course, and you'd played in a bunch of big cities. You were in NCAA tournaments and in NBA arenas, but what was the culture shock like for a guy from small town Kansas now living and playing in New York City and in Madison Square Garden?
It's like probably driving the fastest car on earth, going from 0 to 60. Uh, Beautiful city, a lot of cool things to see, but the pace is just completely different than Western Kansas. So getting used to traveling 3 miles in 45 minutes instead of 3 minutes like you are used to back home. But it's just like anything. You go somewhere new, it takes time to get used to. You become foreign to it. And then you start to grow and love the area that you're at for 2, 3 years. But would love to go back and visit. And I'm glad I'm familiar with that area because it's something my wife always wants to do with our kids, especially this time of year during Christmas.
Like I've only been to New York City once, and it was just for a few days, and I like got, immersed into it. Like I'm not on the street, I'm not saying excuse me, I'm not looking anybody in the eye. There's no politeness. How do you keep your like Midwesternness in New York? Because I'm sure you want to adapt to the way of life up there, but you still got to be yourself. Was there a tricky balance there?
Yeah, I always tell people everybody's going from A to B as quick as
Yeah.
possible. So the kind words and holding doors, please and thank yous, sometimes that gets pushed to the side.
No, all the
But
time. It does.
yeah, no question. But luckily for a Midwestern, your identity is what you're around for majority of your life. And I definitely tried to carry that into New York City and even into DC and Russia. In that identity of being a Midwestern, it's definitely seen by those you're around. So it's definitely something I'm proud to say I have and carried with me.
Do you think that is part of what made you a fan favorite with the Knicks fans? Because you were kind of like the cult favorite, the cult hero guy. Was it because you were a small town Midwestern guy? And we haven't. This might as well be an alien to us.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not a lot of 3A high school basketball players from Western Kansas make it to the Knicks, but I think people bought into my story. They bought into the type of player I was, played hard no matter how many minutes I was getting each and every night. And I think in any sport, if you bring that identity, fans that know whatever game you're playing, if they know the sport, they're going to enjoy that identity of a professional athlete.
You played a bunch of NBA games. I have this conversation with one of my friends because I called somebody like an NBA guy. It might have been Echenike or somebody, maybe not, who like played one or two games. When do you get to call yourself an NBA guy or an NBA player? Is it just one game or a season? Like, what is the cutoff, do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think for my sake, I would just say a guy that played a couple full seasons, maybe.
Yeah, you did it. You're there. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think anyone disputes that. And you played against Fred a couple times, at least, right?
Yeah, so we're in the same division when he was in Toronto. So our my rookie year, I was playing a little more minutes than him, and we played a few times. You'd play twice at Madison Square Garden, twice at Toronto. I don't recall us playing a ton of minutes against each other. And then you fast forward to the next season, I wasn't playing very many minutes, and Fred was. And then the same thing went for the third season. So we crossed paths a ton of times, but playing minutes against each other, I don't know. It was kind of like a magnet coming together and
Yeah.
not connecting correctly. Like we never got to play a ton of minutes against each other.
Yeah. I think people assume that you guys will go into the rafters at the same time, and you don't have to comment on this, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I think both of you should have your own individual moments in front of the crowd. I guess it would be cool to see both of you together. That's great. But has that been communicated to you that that's going to happen at this time or when Fred retires or whatever it is?
The last communication we had on that was, yes, doing it together. And then at the time I didn't have any kiddos, and Fred's kids were kind of in diapers, and his communication was he wanted to wait till his kids got to an age that they could truly understand the magnitude of what it means to get your name put in the rafters. And now I'm kind of in that situation. So I would speak for myself and say that it'd be a true honor to go up in the rafters together, especially with the caliber of player and a career that he's had. But now I'd like to wait till Scotty and Vivian, our two daughters, are out of diapers
Yeah.
and can create a family memory with that jersey going in the rafters.
This is going to sound like almost like false humility, but you listen to our radio show, Bob and Jeff. You texted me occasionally during the show. Why? I'm always surprised when anybody like listens
Yeah,
to our show, but
did your
here's Ron
dad hold
Baker
you up to
listening to
that
our show.
question?
What's that?
Did your dad hold you up?
Like I always
Make
wondered,
you
like
ask that?
you became a character on the show almost without your consent, basically. I think you understood. Like
Yeah.
every time you'd send a text, we'd read it, and that was part of it. But I just never understood, like, why is Ron Baker
There's
of
the
all
sense
people?
of two things. One, the sense of humor of the show is just something I enjoyed. And then also the time. The
Yeah,
show, the time when I was listening was perfect. I was usually driving to get my daughter from daycare, and it was just a good time to chime in. Plus, I also enjoyed just the localness of it and tying in high school sports because I'm a Kansas kid and I love hearing about obviously Wichita metro schools, but even the surrounding communities. You'll notice my Owls hat, Garden Plain High School.
yeah.
So I love
Is
following
that allowed in Scott City to
small.
wear?
It is a tough conversation, but that's because we can blame this on my brother for marrying a girl from out there. So I think we're kind of consolidating our fan bases now with that marriage. But I did enjoy your guys' show talking about small town athletes and small town schools. So that was an easy listen for me.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. What about just the aftershocks? I assume you're not going to suit up for them. What do you think is their future now that they've won it? Will it remain interesting to the guys who come back every year? Will we shuffle in different guys? Maybe some of those guys like a Grant Sherfield or Jamarius Burton, I don't know, who transferred, didn't finish here. What do you see as the future of the aftershocks?
Well, first and foremost, I hope it continues as we all watch college sports now. We're slowly running out of shocker alumni with McDuffie, Kelly, Zach Brown. Those guys are only 2, 3 years younger than me, so they're hitting their 30s here pretty soon, along with Connor. So I think the future we'll have to look at, assuming TBT will allow it. They love having these alumni teams, but we're running out of alumni guys
Yeah.
just because of the transfer portal. So I would love to see, ex Shockers, maybe not alumni, but ex Shockers come back and play. I thought the team this year did a heck of a job of finding non alumni players. Some of the best players in the tournament were fortunate enough to be on the Aftershocks team. And credit to Zach Bush and the coaching staff. When you get these type of athletes, high caliber professionals from overseas, and you've only got 10 days maybe to prep and to get guys organized and in structured offenses and defenses and that amount of time, that's very hard to do. So that was fun to see, fun to watch. And hopefully Coke Arena can continue to support them and host that event because that was definitely a sight to see this year.
Yeah. And just before I let you go, you played all the sports in high school. You played one of them at the absolute highest level. What's your relationship? It's probably too strong of a word, but what do you watch now? What is your life with sports in 2025?
Yeah, I don't know if people would be surprised, but I don't watch a ton of NBA.
Yeah.
I'll watch like the first week when it starts, and now I'll kind of just watch from afar. I love watching the Chiefs, maybe not this season, but in the past few years, they've been a great watch. But other than that, I'll go to a few high school football games in person. Don't watch a ton of sports. on TV. We're a show family.
Yeah.
Netflix
What
is getting
shows
taken
then?
over by Miss Rachel a lot right now from
Okay.
my daughter. But my wife and I, we try to watch a few shows on Netflix or something of that magnitude, but not a ton of sports being watched at the Baker household right now.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Stranger Things. Are you a Stranger Things guy?
Yep, we're caught up on Stranger Things. We're excited for Christmas for the
Don't tell
next
me anything.
volume to come out.
My wife has seen all of it, but she's doing a rewatch, and I've only got through season one, so I'm not. You're not allowed to
You're
spoil anything for me.
Yeah, no, you're good. It's a good
Okay.
show. You'll either love it or hate it. There's not really a median when it comes to that show.
Fair enough, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for making time. I'm sure we'll do this again. Text anytime. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, tell dad hi.
All right, we'll do. Say hi to your family as well.
We'll do.